What's up, everybody? My name is Ryan Turford, and today it's Monday, so we're ready for a new Let's Play. We are playing Final Fantasy VII. Now, this originally came out on the PS1, as many of you guys know. This is a pretty famous game. Most people's first introduction to the Final Fantasy series. I got my start originally on the NES with the original Final Fantasy, but this is a lot of people's first Final Fantasy game. It was then ported to PC. IDOS actually handled the port, makers of Tomb Raider and other fine games. And then it was actually ported to Steam later on, because they basically redid it, retouched it up, added some achievements and stuff. It's basically just the same game. They just changed around some of the lines in the game as well, like some of the localization, especially with some of the lines that didn't really make any sense. And then they just recently ported that version to PS4. That's what we're playing right now. It was just released on Saturday at the PSX conference, although we kind of knew it was coming. The trophies had actually leaked as far as being online already, so for the most part, we kind of knew that this is going to be a thing that was probably going to happen around the time of the conference. So we're going to jump in and play the game. And again, if you guys haven't experienced it before, again, this will be your first taste. I know a lot of people are doing Let's Plays or trying this game for the first time now even. May not have played the PS1 version or the other version. Now, this is interesting to note. This is the PS4 specific control scheme for it. Of course, you can't use the share button as a button, so you can use your assist on the touchpad there. But for the most part, very similar to the original controls for the game. I mean, you obviously wouldn't be pushing in on both the triggers anyways. That doesn't really make any sense. Also, I'm guessing you still use X to run, because X is the OK button. The OK button was used to run in the original version. Maybe they fixed it, though. I don't know. So, apparently you can activate 3 times speed and battle boost. Now, I don't actually know what those... I mean, you can hazard a guess as to what 3 times speed is. I don't know what battle boost is. Maybe that's one of the extra features they threw into the game. So, we're going to jump in here. And, of course, this is one of the most famous cinematics in Final Fantasy history, the opening to Final Fantasy VII. And you don't really know what's going on here until you get a lot farther in the game and you sort of know what's going on anyways. So for me, as I mentioned, my first Final Fantasy game was the original Final Fantasy on the NES. That's really where I got my start. I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. I mean, a lot of people really didn't, especially if you've never played an RPG before. It was really the second RPG I had played. I've told this story on the Game Moose podcast before, which of course is the video game podcast I co-host. All the info is in the description below. Basically, the first RPG I played was Genghis Khan 2 on the NES. We rented it once because there was nothing else in the game shop to rent, and holy hell, that game was awful. It basically made me hate RPGs, which is one of the main reasons why it really took until Final Fantasy VII until I really started to appreciate the Final Fantasy series as a whole. Because I had also played, and I also, for the most part, wasn't playing too many RPGs on the SNES. I mean, I'd played all those games later, but at the time I really didn't. Shining Force 2 was the game that sort of got me into RPGs eventually, as a Sega Genesis game, in case you guys haven't heard of it. I'll probably do a Let's Play of that at some point, or you can just check my Extra Life stream. I played it for 7 fucking hours straight, so played a big chunk of the game. So, Final Fantasy VII, though, is a very special game for me. It's really the game that sort of solidified my love of my PlayStation, because for the most part, all my friends had N64s. I was really the only one I knew who had a PlayStation, and this game, I heard so many great things about it, and once I picked it up, there was no looking back. I mean, it's a really, really special game. Yes, all the models look really weird now, because they're all polygonal. I do love the flat backgrounds, actually, because a lot of them still look really cool, but sort of the looks of the characters look really weird. Of course, when you run through here, first of all, one thing to notice right away, Cloud is running in the original PlayStation version. As I just mentioned, you had to hold down the X button on your controller. I'm not doing a very good job of showcasing it in order to run. But in fact, now it looks like there's auto run. And it looks like we're going to fight some Shinra guards. Ooh, I like because going into the battle was a lot more janky before, but now it looks like it's pretty smooth. And I can definitely tell that they've done some work on some of the models anyways to bring it up to HD standards specifically. The 3D models do look a lot smoother than they did, than I remember them looking anyways on the PS1 anyways. Which is good, because of course when you're playing it on a big TV like this, you don't really want janky models like that. Of course, First Blood, we've got trophies in this game. One of the biggest appeals for me for playing this version of the game specifically is trophies, because number one, I love trophies. Number two, I've always said this, but if they re-release the first 6 Final Fantasy games with trophies, good fucking luck. You will not see me for the longest time, because I'm going to platinum all those fucking games. And I'll probably even go for the platinum for this game, although one thing I don't like about the platinum trophy in this game in particular, in this version anyways, is they sort of force you to go down a certain path with a lot of choices, because you do get dialogue choices every once in a while that minorly affect the gameplay, or other things that happen later in the game, but you have to go down a very, very, very narrow path, which I don't particularly care for, because I mean, I'm playing Final Fantasy VII because I want to play it the way I want to play it. I don't want to have to, because I feel like you could do the whole thing in one playthrough, but it wouldn't be the way I would want to play it. So I mean, I'll still probably go for it, because you only really have to get, if I wanted to get the rest of the choice trophies, that would only take beating the game up to like the 1/3 point. And of course, one thing about me that you might not know is that I've beaten Final Fantasy VII about 20 times. So, I mean, I'm a big fan of this game. For the longest time, I would quote it as my second favorite game of all time. Of course, Super Metroid for me has still always been my favorite game of all time, basically ever since I put down the controller and finished it. But Final Fantasy VII, for the longest time anyways, was sort of the close second. The time that sort of changed was, number one, when I played Knights of the Old Republic for the first time. And I just saw how much farther storytelling came in, and then RPGs have really come. And especially going back and trying this game again, the models do look very, very dated. And they're very much of that time. Very much 1997 specifically. So I don't really think that... I mean, it sort of takes away from the how this game holds up anyways. Oh, geez, Barrett's so angry. I'm just gonna go on Barrett. I'm boring, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, you can hold down the circle button if you want to run. Though I'm guessing that's if we had auto run turned off. Let me try it. Yeah, see, you move the same, which again, it just means you have auto run on. Now, I know a lot of people give Final Fantasy VII some flack. I mean, it's... For a very classic game, it's more divisive than I think it would. One of the things that it does really, really well is the soundtrack. I mean, you can see that about every Final Fantasy game, though. The soundtracks are always awesome. Uematsu is a genius when it comes to music. But, I mean, the music in this game is just so perfect. Especially... that's one of the things that got me so hyped about it, was watching the trailer for the new version of the remake of Final Fantasy VII, and just hearing that music again. It's just so good. And again, one thing you don't really see in RPGs anymore, random battles. I think the last time I played a game with random battles was Bravely Default. And even then, the battles aren't super, super random. You have a ton of control over how often they happen and stuff. Whereas in this game, it's just like, well, you just run around and battles happen. So. Now I'm going to go into the menu here. I'm going to config some things. So, we could, first of all, you can actually totally change the window color if you want. I actually usually go for green. Why? Because I'm weird like that. We want to sort of make it sort of a darker green. And then what I do is I usually just do sort of black on all the other color corners. Next, what we want to do is I'm going to turn it to active time battle. Recommended is sort of it'll basically, this setting actually basically makes it so that if you sort of hold off and don't pick your choice right away, you won't get attacked. Whereas this, it's totally like, if you hold off or if you get distracted, the monsters are just going to keep hitting you. Which again is more of the type of thing I like. Ooh, so if you hold down the run button on the D-pad, you actually walk. So there's the difference. And that walking is actually the default run speed from the original game if you didn't hold down the button. By the way, I'm totally nodding my head to the music. It's so good. God, I missed this. Yeah, as I mentioned, this game was one of my favorite games growing up, and it's really just one of those formative games for me. So, of course, just hearing the music just instantly brings back so many great memories of playing this game growing up. Again, it's sort of the same feeling I get whenever I pop in Super Metroid, which is a game I usually beat about 3 or 4 times a year, and I don't even fucking speed run the game. That's just me just wanting to play it personally because I love it. So, of course, Barrett is giving us this whole lecture about how the planet is falling apart, and of course Cloud is just like, you know, I'm a badass, I don't really care. Of course, if you've never played this game before, if you've seen the new trailer, the one that was released at PSX, which, by the way, was an awesome freaking trailer, you'll notice that this is sort of the section of the game that the trailer highlighted. We're going to go over here and maybe see if there's... I can't remember if there's items over there. There is. But yeah, this is the section that they really showed. Basically, from the start of the game until you sort of escape on the train anyways. Which is pretty awesome, actually. I couldn't believe, actually, how far along it seems like it's been. Although, again, since I'm recording this Sunday night, I don't know the extent of this, but it sounds like, due to, like, after hearing some more information about it, it sounds like it's going to be episodic. Like, it's going to be an episodic game. So we're not actually going to get the whole game at launch, which kind of bums me out, actually. It makes me less excited about it, because one of the nice things to be able to play, like... Because it only probably takes about, I don't know, like maybe 15, 20 hours to beat this game. If you really plow through it and you know what you're doing. It sort of bums me out that you really only have, you won't have it all at once. It's going to be in chunks. That's just like saying, hey, you can't get the Witcher 3 out in time. There's too much content in it and you need to break it into like 5 episodes or something. Wait, and of course, would we have liked that? No, of course not. It would have detracted from our enjoyment of The Witcher this year. Which, by the way, is another game I'm playing right now. I actually just picked it up very recently on Black Friday. Loving that game. I can't believe I didn't play it earlier in the year. But I am correcting that mistake now. So I'm like 10 hours in. I've maybe had it for 4 days, and oh man, that game's awesome. Of course, this is the classic Final Fantasy VII battle theme. There are different ones, like different battle themes, but it's pretty awesome. And of course, the Victory Fair, so good. Alright, so we're going to keep descending into the Mako Raptor. Also, what did you guys think about PSX, actually? Let me know in the comments below, anyways. I'd love to hear what you guys think. Personally, my thoughts on the conference is I liked it. After seeing the PS I Love You panel that the Kind of Funny guys host after the conference, and they sort of explained the reason why we didn't get a ton of big announcements. It really did make a lot of sense, and their strategy behind really showcasing smaller games and third-party games does make sense, because PSX apparently is sort of where you want to have like the smaller announcements, like the things you won't put at E3, basically. And we still got some good announcements. I mean, first of all, I wasn't expecting to see an actual in-game demo trailer of Final Fantasy VII. I mean, especially with them working on Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy 15, and those games not even being out yet. I mean, it just seemed like that game was so far away. But to actually be able to see it running and see sort of the gameplay changes and stuff that they're making to it, I'm actually kind of more intrigued about that game and more hyped about it than I originally was. Especially when they told us like the gameplay was going to change and they're going to change a bunch of different elements about the game. But it seems like it's going to play a lot like Kingdom Hearts, which again, to me, isn't really a bad thing, because Kingdom Hearts is a fun game to play, or even Final Fantasy 15, it very much looks like that as well. So we're going to preemptive these dudes. But yeah, overall, my favorite announcement from the conference was Ni no Kuni 2. I think that was so unexpected, and that just must solidify the fact that game did really well here in North America, especially because, I mean, they're debuting it here with an English trailer, which is crazy. I've heard that the game sold really well here, so I'm actually really excited that there's a sequel coming, because it basically... for a while there, when we didn't really know too many new JRPGs that were coming, the landscape seemed kind of dire anyways, or at least very barren. Before for the most part, we had the announcement of Persona 4 and Final Fantasy 15, but Final Fantasy 15 again, there's a chance it might not come out next year. I don't know. I mean, they've been saying for years that it's going to come out soon, but you never know. And then, so we didn't really have too many JRPGs, but now we just have a ton of announcements of JRPGs, with Valkyria Chronicles, with Final Fantasy VII coming, with, you know, the one we just talked about, Ni no Kuni, Dragon Quest. There's a lot of really awesome JRPGs, by the sounds of it, next year, so I'm actually really excited. I don't actually think we're going to get Final Fantasy VII next year. I mean, to be honest, if we don't get Kingdom Hearts next year, which I don't think we're going to get either, then there's no way we're going to get Final Fantasy VII next year either. Even though that is going to be broken up into multiple parts. I think we'll get part 1 in 2017. It'll probably be, because my estimation of what they're probably going to do, or my guess, would be they'll do like one episode for each of the 3 discs, which makes sense. Even though the 3rd disc really is just the final boss battle, it just has all of the data for the open world on top of it too, so. Alright, so we're about to fight our first boss here. And of course, it's alluding to things that happen later on in the game. And here we go. Oh man, this music is so good too. This actually got me really pumped when they had the Smash Brothers trailer for Cloud. Just when this music came on and they were about to do the Limit Break, it was so good. Also, if you guys are really into orchestral soundtracks or piano-specific game soundtracks, the Final Fantasy games are always really good for those. Uematsu usually does one for every game. And the Final Fantasy VII one is actually probably one of my favorites. There are so many great tracks on it, like Tifa's theme, the battle theme, the open world theme. There's a lot of really good, memorable tracks on that version of the soundtrack as well, and it's just, some of them are just really beautiful, especially when you have Eris's theme on the piano. It's just so good. Alright, so we're going to use our first Limit Break, and we got a trophy. Yeah, more trophies. Guys, I don't know if you knew this, but I like trophies a lot. I may have mentioned that before, except for the fact that I already mentioned that. So I sort of was a bit hasty there, but that's okay. May as well throw a potion. Don't want to give the boss a potion. And there we go. Now I'm using Bolt because he's a machine, and the way this game works is that electricity, any of the mechanical beings you encounter, their weakness is always electricity. And there we go, our first boss is down. Easy peasy, it's not even a really difficult boss. And of course, the awesome fanfare comes on. I like how you don't even start the game at level 1. And we got an assault gun for Baird. I almost called him Baird. He's not Baird from Gears of War. I'm sorry. He more resembles Coltrane, but he is definitely not either one of those characters. Alright, so we'll give him that. We'll run our asses out of here. I love how they give you 10 minutes, and there's no way it takes you 10 minutes to get out of here. Even if you run into a million frickin' battles. I don't care what you say. There's no way you're gonna get... no way it's gonna take that long. I like how the beam gun is literally just like a Hadouken. Of course, we just use the lightning on the big guy because, I mean, we already know his weakness. And we have a ton of MP, so why not? Now that I've talked about Final Fantasy VII, I haven't really talked about what my favorite Final Fantasy game is. Now, again, if you guys listen to Game Moose, I have talked about this before. My favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy VI. I know it's a lot of people's favorite as well. Again, it's really a game that I didn't really play until I was an adult. Because, like I mentioned, I wasn't really playing JRPGs at the time, so for the most part, it was really not a game I really had on my radar anyways. And it really... again, I hadn't played it until, like, 2006. So, for the most part, that's when sort of I knew that Final Fantasy VII, as good as it was not the best Final Fantasy game. Although I had thought that for a while. That and 9. 9 is also one of my favorite games. I also have a bit of a soft spot for Final Fantasy V as well. Yeah, it's a little bit of a weird choice, but I actually really like that game. I don't know what it is, other than the job system, for example. I love how deep it is, and even the story and the characters I really like too. Final Fantasy IV, I know a lot of people really like too, and I mean, I didn't even play it until recently. I picked up the PSP version of it, and it's pretty good too, but it's just one of those games that it is tougher to go back to, I feel like. Now that I've played all the other Final Fantasy games. Look, we're almost out, and we've still got like fucking 7 minutes to go. And here you sort of have to remember who opened what door. Because if you talk to the wrong one, he's just like, why are you talking to me? Talk to the other one. Oh man, even when I was a kid, I was like, man, that explosion's so cool. But now when I look at it, it's just like, it's so cheesy. But that's totally 1997 for you. I mean, that's what it was all about. once again, the cinematics. I love how they weave the cinematics into the gameplay, because at the time that's just not something you ever saw with any game. At the same time, looking back at it, especially with the polygonal models, it's just so cheesy. But I love it. It's great. So basically, we blew up our hideout so that the Shinra guys don't come back and find us. Of course, Cloud just wants to get paid because he's a mercenary. And Barrett's like, you can get your money when you get back. That's a really terrible Barrett voice. Feel free to make fun of me for that if you would like. I'm totally cool with that. Alright, so here we got the first appearance of Aerith, or Aerith, however you want to say her name. Oh man, we could have bought one of her flowers, but instead we just told her to leave. I used to actually, this is one of the themes that I used to really love as well. It's just, I don't know, it's there's something about it anyways that I really loved. Now, do we want to fight all the soldiers? Now, normally I would say no, but you know what? We're doing a Let's Play here. We got full health. I might as well just mow these guys down. Why not? Also, if you at home, you who's watching this video, if you've never played Final Fantasy VII before, and you're jumping into this version for the first time, I'd love to hear from you and sort of find out your first experience with this game. Do you like it? I mean, I know, again, for me, it's a bit of the nostalgia for the most part as to why I'm totally still in love with it after all these years, but I mean, I'd love to hear an opinion of someone who's never played it before, because, I mean, that's not something I get to hear that often, especially because the PS1 version that was ported to PS3, I don't know too many people really talking about that, so I'd love to hear what you guys think about this port, for sure. Again, just let me know in the comments below, or you can hit me up on Twitter at Ryan Turford, that's Turford, just like this channel. Again, combat's pretty simplistic until we get later in the game, or even until we get out of Midgar. It gets a little more complicated when you have more than just the Shinra soldiers. Again, we're just going to keep fighting these mofos, because we're just going to keep beating them. Oh, attack for both sides! When an enemy is behind you, you do take more damage from them, and you deal less damage to them. So, of course, me attacking the guy from behind is probably a bit of a mistake. Ba-ba-ba-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum-bum. Of course, we can't fight them all because the game only lets you fight 3 at a time. It doesn't let you fight everyone. Of course, Cloud, being the badass that he is going to totally jump on a train, and he looks really, really tiny. It's a good thing the train wasn't going the other way, because actually it looks like that the hole going the other way probably would have knocked him off the train, which would have been bad. Then the Shinra guys would have got there, and you would have had to fight more than 3 at a time, which would be a problem. Oh, poor Jesse. And of course, this part here, once you leave the train, this is sort of where the demo that was part of the trailer at PSX sort of cut off anyways. It just seems like they've only really built this part of the game, which is why, like, either I believe the first episode will be either the full first disc, or just until you leave Midgar anyways, which is about 6 to 8 hours into the game. I think that might be a good point as well. There's a lot of different options for Square Enix here as to where they want to sort of go with that. And of course, Cloud, being the badass he is, opens the side of the train and then jumps in. He's just like, oh, it's nothing. It's fine. Of course, he just always does this, apparently. I also love that they didn't take out the swearing, and yes, he doesn't ever actually swear, even in the PS1 version. He just sort of it just throws random obscenities in there anyways, with just random symbols. Oh jeez. Barrett's just so angry all the time. Of course, Jesse totally has a thing for Cloud, even though I'm not gonna lie, when I first played this game, I thought Jesse was a boy. So we're gonna jump forward onto the train. And there's just some punks. Look at those punks just hanging out up there. But they're not punk enough to hang out with Avalanche. No, sir. Apparently he hates the last train. Huh, this is my house. Make yourselves at home. You know, this is eerily similar to the Toronto subway. You don't see this too often, but, you know, it does happen where, you know, there's just people just sleeping on the train. Why not? I wonder what Avalanche will do next. So we're going to hear about this infamous security mode now. So now Jesse's going to explain to us how the train works. That's a big city, by the way. 1/1000 scale. It's pretty big. Of course, using a fake ID, not condoned by this game, or by this YouTube channel, of course. Unless, of course, you are fighting the good fight against Shinra. Then it's probably still not okay. Although, you know, when you see flashing red lights with a fancy sound like that, you're like, yeah, maybe there's actually something wrong instead of them just scanning the train. Seems kind of weird. Seems like, I mean, if Shinra was smart, what they would do is they would build some sort of system that, you know, you wouldn't be tracked by giant blinking red lights that make noises. Now, do we want to hit on Jesse? You know, my thoughts are, yeah, we totally do. You just full of surprises. It's 'cause of that fucking pizza that people are underneath suffering. That's a line right there. Oh, man. Some of this dialogue's totally great, man. Especially when you get later in the game. There are some real doozies. Man, Cloud's so philosophical because he's also a badass. So here's sort of our look around what they're sort of describing, because I guess you didn't really see before the fact that the city is on... There's a city below a plate where the actual city is, which is kind of a counterintuitive way to build a city. Man, Barrett just wants to keep blowing shit up. He's just like, oh, let's just go blow up this reactor. It seems like fun. Now, if you go this way, where you're not supposed to go, you can fight a bunch of really powerful enemies, ones that are way more powerful than Cloud. Which is why what we're going to do is we are going to do this. Run the fuck away, because these enemies are totally going to clean his clock. I love the load times between areas in this, because it was definitely not this fast on the PS1 for sure. It seems like they put a little bit of effort into make everything a lot more snappy, that's for sure. I'm actually really impressed with this port so far, by the way, because I was sort of expecting it to sort of be more of the same. But instead it's actually, it seems like they trimmed a lot of the things that sort of needed to be trimmed. Again, they didn't really need to skimp on any of the story or change the combat or do anything dumb like that, but I don't know. I like that they sort of made subtle changes in all the right areas anyways. And then, of course, if you're sort of complaining about the new version of Final Fantasy VII, you've always got this one to go back to. It's always going to be here. It's not going anywhere, especially now that it is on PS4, so that you don't have to go back and pull out your PS3 every time you want to use it. So, or even your PS1, you don't have to go back and pull out your PS1. I don't know. Do we care about what did you hear? No. What? A Mako reactor blew up. Do we know what this means? No, what? If I keep on top of things, if you ask me, it'll knock out Midgar's power, and then all the computer's signals are going to get knocked out too. 1 billion gil of damage? Oh, man. What's with this kid, by the way? That kid really loves explosions. Look at how excited he is. Look at how excited that kid is for explosions. Alright. We're gonna go see Barrett. Oh, I forgot you can turn this mode on, so you can sort of have a little cursor over Cloud's head so you can actually see where he is all the time. So we're gonna go into the bar and we're gonna get our first appearance of my girl, Tifa. And Marlene. Of course, this is Tifa's theme. Very famous track, and honestly, if you haven't heard the piano version of it, it's so good. Oh, she's scared of Cloud. Are we gonna lie to her about Barrett? Yeah, we're gonna say we should have put it out there. Yeah, we're gonna keep her name Tifa. We're not gonna stray too far out. Aw, poor Marlene. No, I don't want a drink. Aw. You know, they could have all just hopped on the elevator instead of having to jump down. Yeah, we'll go back in there and finish talking to people. Do we want to drink from Tifa? Yeah, we want to drink from Tifa. Now, that's a great shot of color bars up there. I'm kind of surprised. They can't actually put anything on TV? They just have color bars? Oh, he's such a badass. Once I get my money, I'm out of here. I'm sorry, but Tifa's totally the best. I know people love Aerith, but man, I'm totally all about Tifa. She's the best. Oh, he's so big. He's got such a big head because he was in Soldier. Oh, jeez. Barrett's so angry. He's just punching the air. That's how angry he is. You know, I kind of want to live in a house that has a pinball machine elevator. That would be really awesome, actually. He's done goofing at the moment. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Tifa and Cloud have known each other since they were kids. It's about to explain that to you, but I kind of wanted to spoil it. In fact, it actually says it in the instruction manual, of which you don't have here. Oh, she mad. Oh, it's Little Cloud. Of course, his hair stays consistently spiky like that. Even though Tifa looks pretty different. You know, he looks way too young to be leaving Midgar. Although, is that a ponytail he's got there? Yeah, it's a ponytail. Looks so dumb. Cloud looks like he's like 10 in this, but he's apparently leaving town to join Soldier. It's hilarious. Just these polygonal models. I mean, don't get me wrong, they look kind of like the counterparts, but they look way younger than they're supposed to. Oh, jeez. Here's the infamous promise now. Cloud's like, what? I ain't gonna do that. Yeah, because that's the experience everyone wants to experience, that you're in danger and then someone actually comes and rescues you. I mean, first of all, you'd have to be in the in danger part, because it's like, man, I don't want to do that. She's like, come on, promise me. They should just add a bunch of E's there. There you go. There's the promise. Oh, jeez. Barrett is just like, you know, I could use the elevator, or I'm just going to climb up these janky-looking bars, because I'm sure they can support my weight. You know, that's a lot of gil. 1,500 gil? Man. Aw. Alright, there's the theme for them sleeping. So this is going to sort of end the Let's Play here. That said, I saw a couple other things on the screen there as far as battle multiplayers and 3x speed. So that's what 3x speed does. Okay, so I kind of want to test this out here. So we're going to... So it literally moves everything at 3x speed. That's awesome. Like, look how fast Marlene's going. Look at that. Look at how fast she's going. She's such a good server. Alright, so we'll turn that off. And what's this other... Okay, so I'm guessing that does something in battle, but we need to get into a battle in order for that to happen. So maybe I'll test that out and then throw in the comments. But it looks like we've got everything there. So I'm going to sort of end it here. So what do you guys think about Final Fantasy VII in general? What do you think about my videos? What do you think about other cool things? Let me know in the comments below. Of course, make sure to like, subscribe, do all that other stuff. I'm not going to bombard you with that stuff. Of course, I want you to do it, but, you know, I mean, I'm not going to keep bugging you. It's totally cool. Again, come back here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for a new Let's Play, noon Eastern. Also on Thursday, I'm debuting Talkback Thursday, where I come up with a big topic. This week I'm doing licensed articles, and then... Sorry, not licensed articles. An article about licensed video games, and I throw in a video. It's going to be awesome. I talk to the camera and tell you all about licensed games. And licensed games that are actually good, mind you, not Friday the 13th for the NES. That's a bad game. Also, if you guys are looking for a new video game podcast to check out, you can always check out the Game Moose podcast. It's the podcast I co-host, and all the deets are in the comments below. As well, if you want to contact me on Twitter, again, I'm at Ryan Turford. That's Turford, just like this channel. Also, you can see me on Twitch, stream on Twitch. You can see me Twitch about streaming on Twitch. Twitch.tv/Ryan Turford. Until Wednesday, where we're playing Mega Man 2, it's going to be awesome. I'm out.